Chico's young bravado. Calvera's fierce pride and Vin's smooth double-takes made growing up look glamorous and painful at the same time. But looking back now, the theatrical thunder carries a deeper ache. The frontier world remains frozen on screen, but the people who carried it did not. Some became ultimate cult icons, some disappeared into quieter lives, and all of them have already taken their final journey. This is The Magnificent Seven, Then and Now, and the price of becoming iconic too young. Chris Adams is the iron-willed, black-clad gunslinger who assembles the team to protect the helpless village, matching every threat with a cold, fierce majesty. Yul Brynner, born July 11, 1920, was 40 when the film opened in 1960, and his shaved head, intense gaze, and resonant voice made Chris a deeply magnetic leader. Chris is independent, intensely focused, and determined to hold his ragtag group of mercenaries together, declaring his tactical orders with an unyielding finality. What makes him brilliant is that Brynner doesn't just play a hero. He embodies a weathered professional whose absolute devotion to the villagers' safety makes his dangerous lifestyle feel deeply honorable. Brynner died on October 10, 1985 at 65 from lung cancer, leaving behind a highly distinctive legacy as one of Hollywood's most exotic and powerful leading men. Beyond his definitive ride through the West, he achieved permanent immortality on stage and screen as the King of Siam in The King and I, winning an Academy Award, and starred as Ramesses II in The Ten Commandments and the Gunslinger in Westworld. In his final months, he recorded a famously powerful anti-smoking public service announcement that aired posthumously. Chris Adams endures because Yul Brynner made frontier leadership look magnificent, dangerous, and completely unforgettable. Bernardo O'Reilly is the tough, quiet mercenary whose rough exterior hides a deep tenderness for the village children, turning his battle for a paycheck into a fierce fight for a family. Charles Bronson, born November 21, 1921, was 38 when the movie premiered in 1960. And he gave Bernardo a hard, muscular gravity that stood out among the film's louder gunslingers. Bernardo is practical weary and treats his dangerous work with a routine detachment until the local kids remind him what it truly means to be a real hero with a home. What makes him memorable is Bronson's ability to inject a soulful, protective warmth into a character who represents the grittiest side of frontier survival. Bronson died on August 30, 2003 at 81 from pneumonia while battling Alzheimer's disease, concluding one of the most rugged and globally successful leading man careers in cinema history. Following his iconic time in the village, he achieved international superstar status as the ultimate cinematic vigilante in the Death Wish franchise and starred in classics like The Great Escape, The Dirty Dozen, and Once Upon a Time in the West. His sharp face and quiet, tough guy intensity made him a favorite of action directors worldwide for decades. Bernardo O'Reilly endures because Charles Bronson made background bravery feel physical quiet and deeply commanding. Chico is the hot-tempered, arrogant young recruit whose wild eagerness to prove himself makes him the physical muscle and emotional heart of the new generation. Horst Buchholz, born December 4, 1933, was 26 when the film was released in 1960, and his striking, clean-cut looks and restless energy gave the squad its most volatile dynamic. Chico starts out bold, reckless, and desperate to join the veteran gunslingers, before his romance with a village girl forces him to question the lonely reality of an outlaw's life. Buchholz played him with a passionate, youthful intensity that provided an excellent contrast to the older men's steady gravity. Buchholz died on March 3, 2003 at 69 from pneumonia following knee surgery, closing out a highly versatile international acting career that successfully crossed European and American cinema. Dubbed the German James Dean early in his journey, he starred in Billy Wilder's comedy 1, 2, 3, and later earned widespread critical acclaim for his poignant role in the Oscar-winning masterpiece, Life is Beautiful. His ability to move seamlessly between heavy dramatic realism and broad mainstream entertainment kept him active for decades. Chico endures because Horst Buchholz made young bravado feel foolish human and fatally unprepared. Harry Luck is the calculating, opportunistic gunfighter who joins the ride entirely out of a misguided belief that a secret fortune of gold is hidden in the hills, treating a humanitarian mission like a transactional business deal. Brad Dexter, born April 9, 1917, was 43 when the film opened in 1960, and he gave Harry a smooth, cynical confidence that injected practical realism into the heroic narrative. Harry is materialistic, watchful, and quick to look for hidden motives among his peers. Yet his underlying loyalty surfaces when the stakes rise and his friends are cornered. Dexter played the role with a steady deadpan timing that made his character's internal conflict deeply human. Dexter died on December 12, 2002 at 85 from emphysema, concluding a deeply rich, multifaceted Hollywood life that stretched far beyond his time in front of the camera. A highly dependable character actor in noir and westerns like The Asphalt Jungle and Run, Silent, Run Deep, he later transitioned into a successful film producer and a trusted real-life manager for entertainment titans like Frank Sinatra. His sharp intellect and protective nature made him a highly respected figure behind the scenes of the studio system. Harry Luck endures because Brad Dexter made cynical greed look brilliantly funny, sharp, and memorably vulnerable. Hilario is the gentle, dignified village elder whose desperate trek to the border secures the help of the gunman stepping into history as a crucial leader for his oppressed community. Jorge Martinez de Hoyos, born September 25, 1920, was 40 when the epic premiered in 1960, and his weathered face and quiet delivery gave Hilario a deeply spiritual, weary dignity. Hilario is faithful, long-suffering, and stands firmly by his people through every raid, holding the fragile farming village together during their most dangerous crisis. Martinez de Hoyos brought a classic lived-in weight to the Mexican camp, making the villagers' desperate plea for justice feel incredibly urgent. Martinez de Hoyos died on May 6, 1997 at 76 from cancer, leaving behind an extraordinarily rich, prolific legacy as one of the most revered and iconic titans of Mexican cinema and television. A multiple Ariel Award winner, he built a massive artistic resume starring in masterpieces like Luis Buñuel's The Death in This Garden and countless foundational dramatic features across Latin America. His immense dramatic power, impeccable diction, and regal posture always guaranteed a high level of artistic prestige. Hilario endures because Jorge Martinez de Hoyos made rural resilience look warm, noble, and deeply essential to the gunslinger's journey. Vin Tanner is the loose, drifting drifter whose cool swagger, expert marksmanship, and easy humor turn danger into a beautiful game of wits. Steve McQueen, born March 24, 1930, was 30 when the series commenced in 1960, and he injected a confident, charismatic energy that stole the heart of the entire audience. Vin is relaxed, fiercely independent, and completely comfortable driving a hearse through a hostile town just to prove a point, operating as the natural second-in-command to Chris. What made him memorable was the effortless screen-stopping allure McQueen brought to the set, subtly pulling focus with small, brilliant gestures that redefined the Western anti-hero. McQueen died on November 7, 1980 at 50 from mesothelioma, a tragic loss that cut short a monumental journey as the ultimate global icon of cinematic cool. Shortly after his definitive ride through the village, he achieved massive historic box office stardom in landmarks like The Great Escape Bullet, The Thomas Crown Affair, and earned an Academy Award nomination for The Sand Pebbles. His fierce independence, passion for motor racing, and raw artistic honesty made him one of the most compelling and heavily discussed leading men of the 20th century. Vin Tanner endures because Steve McQueen made frontier justice look incredibly attractive, smooth, and fiercely entertaining. Calvera is the flamboyant theatrical bandit chieftain, whose absolute ruthlessness and lazy confidence make him a terrifyingly brilliant antagonist for the Seven Protectors. Eli Wallach, born December 7, 1915, was 44 when the film was released in 1960, and his sharp eyes, wide grin, and menacing laughter stripped the outlaw world of any grand glamour, leaving something uglier behind. Calvera is arrogant, possessive, and completely comfortable robbing the same village repeatedly simply because he treats the farmers like his own personal resource. Wallach played him with a magnificent high-energy malice that turned a standard Western villain into an unforgettable psychological force. Wallach died on June 24, 2014 at 98 from natural causes, closing out a monumental historic life that spanned over 6 decades of absolute acting excellence across Broadway and cinema. A legendary method actor who received an honorary Academy Award for his lifetime achievement, he became globally immortal as Tuco the Ugly in Sergio Leone's masterpiece The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and starred in Baby Doll and The Godfather Part 3. His immense adaptability kept him actively performing well into his 90s. Calvera endures because Eli Wallach made relaxed, smiling evil look breathtakingly powerful, funny, and fiercely legendary. Lee is the elegant, hyper-sophisticated gunslinger whose impeccable wardrobe and smooth manners hide a deeply high-strung hidden trauma that has completely paralyzed his nerve. Robert Vaughn, born November 22, 1932, was 27 when he first brought his sharp, angular features and psychological intensity to the set in 1960. Lee is brooding, lonely, and haunted by the ghosts of his past victims, hiding his intense fear of death behind a cold, polished professional exterior until the final battle forces him to choose his fate. Vaughn played the role with a brilliant, eye-rolling precision that made Lee's personal redemption a deeply moving highlight of the story. Vaughn died on November 11, 2016 at 83 from acute leukemia, closing out a spectacular award-winning television and cinematic legacy built on sharp intellect and emotional restraint. Shortly after leaving the village behind, he achieved permanent global pop culture immortality as the suave secret agent Napoleon Solo in the smash hit series The Man from UNCLE, earned an Oscar nomination for The Young Philadelphians and shone in Bullet. His long, active late-career chapter saw him starring in the British hit Hustle, proving his vast creative range. Lee endures because Robert Vaughn made wounded popularity look magnetic, complicated, and far more fragile than it appeared. Britt is the silent, deadpan master of both the knife and the pistol. A man whose absolute precision and quiet focus turn every combat encounter into a spectacular demonstration of professional skill. James Coburn, born August 31, 1928, was 32 when the film premiered in 1960, and he gave Britt a hard, watchful presence that never needed big dramatic speeches. Britt is stoic, entirely unbothered by theatrical grandstanding, and completely comfortable letting his lightning-fast reflexes speak for him when a challenger pushes him too far. Coburn played the character with a wonderful lean gravity that turned a man of few words into an absolute fan favorite. Coburn died on November 18, 2002 at 74 from a sudden heart attack, leaving behind a highly distinguished, prolific legacy that culminated in a triumphant late-career Academy Award win for Affliction. Following his era in the village, he became a massive action and comedy leading man of the 1960s and 70s, starring in the Our Man Flint parodies, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, and Cross of Iron. His booming voice, wide grin, and deep understanding of martial arts made him a beloved favorite of top-tier directors. Britt endures because James Coburn made unassuming modesty feel memorable, useful, and quietly enduring. The old man is the ancient, deeply spiritual village patriarch whose mountain wisdom and absolute refusal to bow to tyranny inspire the farmers to stand up and fight for their land. Vladimir Sokolov, born December 26, 1889, was 70 when he brought his magnificent stagey intensity to the film's open-air councils in 1960. The old man is blind to compromise, fiercely independent, and treats the gunslingers not as outlaws, but as a necessary stone wall to protect the future of his grandchildren. Sokolov played him with a sharp, gravelly-voiced authority that turned an ordinary elder into a mythic figure carved from the frontier landscape itself. Sokolov died on February 15, 1962, at 72 from a sudden stroke, concluding an extraordinarily towering international career that bridged the highest levels of Russian theater and classic Hollywood cinema. A student of the legendary Konstantin Stanislavski, he fled Europe and lent his sharp intellect and incredible character versatility to masterpieces like The Life of Emile Zola, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Citizen Kane. His presence always guaranteed a high level of artistic prestige. The old man endures because Vladimir Sokolov brought genuine dramatic weight and polished gravity to a world of Western adventure. Petra is the fierce, wide-eyed village girl whose initial terror of the invading gunslingers slowly evolves into a passionate secret romance that bridges two completely different worlds. Rosenda Monteros. Born August 31, 1935, was 25 when she brought her striking beauty and alert energy to the set in 1960, giving the rural narrative its most emotional face. Petra is proud, highly traditional, and initially hidden away by her protective father, before her connection with Chico forces her to stand bravely in the open to defend her home. Monteros played her with a serene dignity, proving that true strength doesn't need armor to be seen. Monteros died on December 29, 2018, at 83, remembered fondly as a brilliant pioneer director and leading lady of Mexican dramatic arts and classical theater. Following her memorable time in the village, she moved extensively between Hollywood productions and European features before dedicating her later decades to the National Theater Company of Mexico, where she received high cultural honors for her artistic leadership. Her quiet bravery and dedication to her craft reframed her legacy for a new generation of performers. Petra endures because Rosenda Monteros made innocents feel brave, vulnerable, and deeply resilient under pressure. Villager is the anxious, protective countryman whose deep fear of Calvera's wrath makes him initially skeptical of hiring outside gunfighters navigating the crisis with an honest domestic worry. Natividad Vacío, born September 8, 1912, was 48 when he lent his weathered, reliable presence to the village formations, bringing a straightforward realism that made the farmer's plight feel deeply believable. This villager is cautious, easily flustered, and constantly worried about the safety of his family, representing the ordinary, hard-working souls caught in a conflict larger than themselves. Vacío played him with a natural, unpolished warmth that won the immediate sympathy of the audience. Vacío died on May 30, 1985, at 72, from natural causes, leaving behind a highly respected, steady career built on playing reliable character roles across golden age television and film. A close real-life friend of co-star George Tobias and active in community arts leadership, he appeared in Western landmarks like The Hitchhiker, The Fugitive, and numerous classic anthology series, where his authenticity was always used to great effect. His quiet path away from the celebrity noise reflected a generation of steady studio contract players. This villager endures because Natividad Vacío made everyday parental fear feel reasonable, human, and tragically exposed. Sotero is the vocal, deeply conflicted villager whose panic and desperate desire to protect his crops lead him to campaign for total surrender to the bandits, creating an important moral crack within the community. Rico Alaniz, born October 25, 1919, was 40 when he brought his sharp features and scheming energy to the village councils in 1960. Sotero is cynical, easily swayed by fear, and quick to exploit any moment of doubt among the farmers, making him a complex, tragic figure who would rather live on his knees than risk everything for freedom. Alaniz played him with a sharp, deadpan intensity that perfectly illustrated how tyranny breaks the spirit of ordinary men. Alaniz died on March 9, 2015, at 95 from natural causes, concluding a long, incredibly prolific life as one of the most reliable and recognizable character actors in television history. From classic westerns like The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp to hit dramas like The Untouchables and Bonanza, his sharp face and deep voice made him a staple of golden age television for over 3 decades. His transition away from acting in his later years allowed him to focus on family life and community service. Sotero endures because Rico Alaniz made false bravado feel loud, pathetic, and still capable of real damage. Miguel is one more face in the village's brutal human mosaic, a silent protector, whose presence helps remind us that the defense is a collective effort. John A. Alonzo, born June 12, 1934, was 26 when he lent his clean-cut, reliable presence to the grand desert formations. Though his acting role is brief, his character matters because every face in the line helps build the illusion of community courage before the bandits charge through the gates. Alonzo played the part with a straightforward, watchful stability that helped populate the background with genuine tension. Alonzo died on March 13, 2001 at 66 after a long illness. His life after acting representing one of the most towering legendary rises behind the camera in modern cinematic history. After stepping away from acting, he became a pioneering Oscar-nominated cinematographer whose breathtaking camera work defined the visual style of New Hollywood landmarks like Chinatown, Scarface, Harold, and Maude and Vanishing Point. His brilliant use of natural light and handheld camera techniques revolutionized the entire industry. Miguel endures because John A. Alonzo turned a brief moment in front of the lens into a lifelong legacy of shaping how the world sees movies. Villager is a brief face of frontier authority, but Enrique Lucero makes him feel like part of a volatile system that does not need much screen time to look oppressive. Lucero, born October 9, 1920, was 39 when the movie opened in 1960, and he brought the role a stern, grounded energy that would later become one of his signatures. In a Western about survival and conquest, even the smallest authority figures matter, creating the rhythm of danger orders given quickly and lives treated as cheap pieces in a violent machine. Lucero played him with a hard, unblinking intensity that made his presence feel entirely credible. Lucero died on January 30, 1989 at 68 from natural causes, having built an incredibly rich career as one of Mexico's most respected and sought-after character actors on the international stage. Viewers know his distinctively intense face from landmarks like The Wild Bunch 2 Mules for Sister Sarah and the surreal masterpiece Macario. His vast filmography crossed dozens of Hollywood and Mexican collaborations, moving seamlessly between heavy dramatic realism and intense genre projects. Villager endures because Enrique Lucero made even a small moment of frontier menace feel blunt, controlled, and completely believable. Wallace is the brutal, ultra-confident railroad heavy whose brief, violent confrontation at the trading post pushes Chris and Vin into their very first public alliance, teaching the town that some lines cannot be crossed without a fight. Robert J. Wilk, born September 14, 1914, was 46 when he brought his sharp, angular features and corporate villain swagger to the epic's opening scene. Wallace is smooth, completely transactional, and entirely unimpressed by local laws, treating the town's racial prejudices like his own personal tool to deny a burial. Wilkie played the part with a refined, hard-nosed starchiness that turned a standard heavy into pure comedic and dramatic gold. Wilk died on March 28, 1989 at 74 from cancer, closing out an extraordinarily towering career as one of Hollywood's most reliable and recognizable cinematic villains. From classic dramas like High Noon and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to Days of Heaven, his sharp face and menacing voice made him the perfect fit for corrupt lawmen, ruthless killers, and corporate enforcers. He remained a steady, active presence in the film industry for over 4 decades, respected by peers for his elite athletic skills and professional reliability. Wallace endures because Robert J. Wilk brought genuine dramatic weight and polished gravity to the opening minutes of the myth. Henry is the eccentric, easily flustered citizen who finds himself completely caught in the middle of a high-stakes standoff at the trading post when the gunmen arrive. Val Avery, born July 14, 1924, was 36 when he brought his distinctively gravelly voice and veteran comedic energy to the set in 1960. He is tired, sharp-tongued, and looks at the sudden outbreak of frontier violence with the quiet, deadpan weariness of an ordinary man who just wants to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. Avery played the role with a wonderful, watchful intensity that turned a routine town errand into a memorable highlight of pure situational tension. Avery died on December 12, 2009, at 85 from natural causes, closing out a monumental historic life as one of the hardest-working and most prolific character actors in American cinema. With a massive filmography crossing over 100 features, he became a favorite utility player for directors like John Cassavetes, starring in Faces: The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, The Harder They Fall, and Donnie Brasco. His ability to move seamlessly between heavy dramatic realism crime sagas and broad comedy made him a beloved staple of the golden age. Henry endures because Val Avery made everyday frontier exasperation look brilliantly funny, sharp, and deeply authentic. Chamley is the slick, fast-talking undertaker whose high-pressure worries about local business and funeral costs are completely disrupted when Chris and Vin take over his hearse to break a town blockade. Whit Bissell, born October 25, 1909, was 50 when he brought his magnificent booming vocal authority and nervous comedic swagger to the series in 1960, providing a brilliant counterweight to the gunman's quiet cool. Chamley is smooth, completely transactional, and entirely panicked by the threat of violence to his property, treating the local landscape like a corporate liability board. Bissell played the part with a refined upper-class starchiness that turned a standard functionary into pure gold. Bissell died on March 5, 1996, at 86 from natural causes, concluding an extraordinarily prolific career that crossed science fiction, classic cinema, and television royalty. A true icon of character acting, he achieved permanent immortality in landmarks like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Time Machine, and The Manchurian Candidate. His sharp wit, distinctively intellectual voice, and profound dramatic talent made him one of his generation's most revered and reliable studio contract players. Chamley endures because Whit Bissell brought genuine theatrical weight and polished gravity to a world of Western farce. Robert is the high-spirited, ultra-confident town citizen whose brief presence at the trading post adds to the tense social environment before the hearse ride begins. Bing Russell, born May 5, 1926, was 34 when he made his memorable appearance in 1960, showcasing a natural, vibrant energy that fit perfectly inside the Western landscape. Robert is bright, fiercely expressive, and completely comfortable navigating the high-stakes world of frontier tension with an effortless, smiling confidence. Russell brought a wonderfully sharp, energetic presence to the screen, holding his own against the show's established golden leads. Russell died on April 8, 2003, at 76, from complications of cancer, standing as a legendary, highly versatile icon of Western television and professional sports history. Decades after his ride in The Village, he achieved permanent television immortality as Deputy Clem Foster on the smash hit Bonanza, and fathered a massive Hollywood legacy through his son, superstar Kurt Russell. His later decades were defined by his brilliant, historic ownership of the independent Portland Mavericks baseball team, a colorful chapter that permanently revolutionized minor league sports. Robert endures because Bing Russell turned a brief town confrontation into a loud, unforgettable early glimpse of pure Western star power. The smoke from the final battle has cleared, the bandits are defeated, and the Magnificent Seven ride back into Western history. But the movie never really lets us leave cleanly. Those powerful faces in dusty boots were sold a dream of honor, and decades later that legacy feels heavier than ever. Some of the cast became permanent icons. Some moved into quieter lives, and all proved that the hardest battles are against time and reinvention. If this rewind pulled you back to The Village, stay with Classic Echoes T5 for more then and now stories where the faces change, but the echoes never fully disappear.